Good morning. I am Susan Scherreik, one of the conference organizers, and I have the great honor and pleasure of introducing our next workshop, Diversity Employment in Cybersecurity, Opportunities for Women and Minorities. Although women and minorities comprise only about 20% of the cybersecurity workforce, now has never been a better time for underrepresented students and new graduates to pursue this exciting career. First, there's an explosion of jobs in cybersecurity, and companies and government agencies are making a big effort to make their cybersecurity workforces more inclusive and diverse. We have a panel today of 4 highly successful women executives in the cybersecurity industry, and they will tell you about their own career paths in cybersecurity, and importantly, they will discuss the resources available to you to pursue a career in cybersecurity. I know that you will be eager to ask them questions, so please put your questions in the chat function, and toward the end of the session, we will read your questions aloud so our experts can answer them. I would like to now introduce our speakers. First, Gerdeep Kaur, who will serve as our session moderator. She's the Chief Information Security Officer for PSEG, one of the 10 largest electric utility companies in the United States. At PSEG, Gurdeep manages enterprise technology, cyber risk, and regulatory compliance, and has won industry awards for her outstanding performance. Gurdeep has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity across multiple sectors, including telecom, financial, healthcare, and energy. She is also the co-founder of Step Up Skill, a not-for-profit organization focused on cybersecurity initiatives for the underserved community. Next, Niloufer Tamboly is a principal in information risk management at Verizon. In that capacity, she leads system and process improvements with business owners to reduce risk. She also provides guidance to business teams on third-party compliance and vendor assessment for risk mitigation to achieve business objectives. Niloufer is energetically involved in helping to educate our next generation of cybersecurity experts. She teaches an advanced information security course at Rutgers University. She's also founder of the nonprofit ISC2 New Jersey chapter, and with Gurdeep is a co-founder of Step Up Skill. Nancy Jean Charles has served as a technology risk management officer at JP Morgan Chase for the past 3 years. Previously, she worked at IBM, Global Services, and Citigroup. Nancy has over 25 years of experience in the IT industry with concentration in IT risk and security management, application development, integration support, system administration, infrastructure security, and database administration in relational database management system. Nancy states that as a Black female and an immigrant computer scientist, her passion is to assist in educating minority girls and boys with financial literacy and to encourage them to become part of the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. Last but certainly not least, Erin Jo is a Senior Vice President of Strategy and Alliances at Mandiant. In this role, Erin draws on her 25-year career serving as a transformational leader, guiding organizations in cybersecurity and other industry areas. Impressively, Erin spent a key part of her career as a senior executive with FBI, driving cyber responses to national threats. Erin is also the executive sponsor of Elevate, an initiative supporting women leaders in cyber. Thank you all for being with us. And now I'd like to turn the proceedings over to Gurdeep, who is our moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan, for the introductions. And thank you for providing me with this opportunity to moderate a panel of such accomplished and inspirational women on a topic that is so dear to my heart. So welcome to all the panelists and attendees. And let me start with some additional numbers that I hope you will find as intriguing as I do. So According to the annual ISC Squared Cybersecurity Workforce Study, it was published in 2021. The one for 2022 is not out yet. Globally, the shortage of cybersecurity professionals is estimated to be 2.7 something million. Yeah, that's an M. And according to the Fortinet 2022 Cybersecurity Skills Gap Global Research Report, over the last 3 years, 87% of organizations globally, they have reported actively seeking to meet diversity goals when hiring new graduates. So let's do the simple math. I guess it's the safe analysis that if you are a young woman, if you are in a minority, there has never been a better time to get onto the cybersecurity career express. So that said, we will ask our distinguished panelists some questions that would help you with exploring your options for becoming a cyber hero. So let's start with a question about how we started our journey and what we do in cybersecurity. So thanks to Susan, she has provided the intro that, and she gave her pretty much my age as well. Yes, I have been in cyber for over 20 years. Yes, I'm old. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for PSEG. And in my role, I'm responsible for managing the cybersecurity risk and compliance with the applicable cyber requirements across the enterprise. My team provides cyber governance over both IT and OT environments. So OT stands for the operational technology, if you may or may not know. So wind turbines, solar arrays, and then the supervisory control and data acquisition, which is normally the SCADA systems that control the flow of electricity, the flow of gas, water, anything that, even in the manufacturing world. These are all examples of OT systems, operational technology systems. So, and I think I cannot emphasize enough the importance of keeping the lights on. So electricity is, is crucial, if I may say, to the mankind at this time. So I'm an electrical engineer by education. I completed my Bachelor of Engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in New Delhi, India. So yes, just like Nancy, I came as a young immigrant to US. And in my senior year, while doing my engineering, I decided to take the entrance test for advanced software management course. It was offered by NIIT. I was offered 100% merit scholarship for 2 years of curriculum and then 1 year of paid internship. And that's how I got into IT instead of going into the actual electrical engineering sector. Started my career with IT network management, moved to mid-range, specialized in Microsoft technologies, including Active Directory, Exchange, did some programming. And then information security gained a lot of attention post 9/11. And during that time frame, I became the security focal while I was doing the consulting for IBM. And I had figured it out by then that I would like to be a full-time security professional. So what do? I did my certification. I got my CISSP certification. I joined AIG, where I stayed for 12 plus years, started as security analyst, became business information security officer, then eventually became the chief security architect before venturing out for more challenging or greener pastures. So that's my story. And what I would like to do now is actually ask all the panelists, what's your story? If you can share how you got into cyber, that would be wonderful. So let me start with Erin, if you want to go first.
Sure, thank you very much. You have a fascinating background, as do all of the panelists today. And I started in a really small town where there were very few opportunities. And somehow I had it on my heart that in first grade, I said, okay, I'm going to be an attorney, FBI agent, and president. And 2 out of 3, I'm good. I won't be running for office. If anybody wants to write me in, I'd be flattered. But you won't see me on a ballot. But that was just really something that was on my heart early on. But then I had to figure out how to do it. And I went to college and law school. So I was an English major, and then I went to law school. There's absolutely nothing about my background that screams cybersecurity. So I say that because I've had to reinvent myself time and time again throughout the course of my career. And I just think that it's important for students to know that you might be doing something at one point in your career, and you might end up doing something completely different later on. And that's fine. You don't have to have all the answers right away. You just have to start somewhere and figure something out, see what you like, and then see what appeals to you. And that was part of the reinventing process. There's so much to do in the FBI. There were so many opportunities that I just gravitated toward what was next and what was on the horizon. So I started with criminal work, and that's where I was assigned because as an attorney, white collar crime made a lot of sense. But when 9/11 happened, that was when I really decided to focus as much as I could on counterterrorism. I knew that that was a very critical time, and it was a critical juncture in our nation's time as well as in the FBI's time. So I went toward that, and I worked that for many years. But then it became very clear over time that cyber was going to be the next major domain and the next major issue for national security. So then I turned my attention toward cyber, and I had to learn. A lot of that was learning on the job. A lot of that was just immersing myself in the investigations and the intelligence, and then eventually getting some certifications and taking classes and starting to understand this world a little bit better. I do have several of the GSIP certifications, and one is the five-hour exam, which is the CISSP equivalent. And I have to say, at that point in my life, I had 3 kids and I was working full time, and I decided not to sit for the CISSP. And sometimes I think in life it's okay to make some of those choices. It's okay to say, what do I really need to be successful? And where can I maybe scale back a little bit because I have other things in my life that I need to pay attention to and be a part of. So I think, just a lot of lessons learned over many, many years. And in the FBI, I just want to encourage everybody, not just in the FBI, but all across government. If you're thinking about a career there are many, many career opportunities. They have agents and analysts and data scientists and attorneys and forensic experts of all kinds. So take a look at government because they are recruiting. They want young talent. In October is the best time to look because that's when the application process actually closes. I believe this month it closes for many of the internships across government for the following summer. So look today, those deadlines are coming soon for the following summer. And then also now at Mandiant, and I forgot, I wanted to tell you what my role was in government. I think there were 2 key things that I could boil it down to. One was consistently connecting whatever information was in front of me to the bigger picture. And that's a skill set. And I can talk about this a little bit later, but it's something that some people are very good going very, very deep into something. I was better at seeing the whole picture and connecting whatever was in front of me to the larger picture. And then my responsibility over thousands of investigations in the FBI was to direct the holistic response. And that meant partnering, and that meant bringing in my legal background and expertise and knowledge. Even though I wasn't an attorney for the FBI, that knowledge was critical because I was able to say, hey, who has which authorities? Who has which capabilities, and who can do what in order to have impact against a threat? So for example, when a nation state actor was threatening the energy sector or the hospitals or any of our critical infrastructure, we worked with hundreds, if not thousands of victims around the world. We worked with individuals who were and companies that were in a position to take action. And we figured out, is this something that the FBI needed to issue legal process for? Or is this something that the company had authority to do something about by removing them off of their infrastructure based on a contractual agreement? Or all kinds of working with world governments to say who has authority to take action in order to impact or stop a threat. So that was what my purview was in the FBI. And then at Mandiant, it's the same thing. Mandiant and many other companies, I'm sure the companies represented today, along with many, many, many others, have internships or opportunities for you to come in and see what is it all about. So I encourage you to take these opportunities. At Mandiant, we have engineers and salespeople and marketing people, just like all these companies do. So don't feel like you have to be a cyber expert or a cyber ninja, as we say sometimes, in order to get into this work role and get into this world of cybersecurity. My role now is to work with partnerships. How are we better together? And how do we go to market with something that the customers will see as a holistic solution? So it's not, I'm not bringing in the engineering expertise, but I have engineers that I bring into those opportunities. So recognize that in this world, you have a whole team that you're working with, and you can be successful with whatever your skill set is.
Thank you, Erin. That is awesome. Thank you. Nancy, why don't we ask you that same question, how you started your journey and what do you do in cybersecurity?
Let me start with what I do. Right now, I sit in the second line. I have oversight of a line of business called commercial bank at JP Morgan. And what do I do on a daily basis? I assess the environment end to end, whether it is a product, whether it is BAU work, it is an incident. I oversee. I bring the operational risks sense to the first line. My job is not really straightforward. There is some gray area. That's what I like about operational risk. It's not yes or no. Sometimes you are in between. And I love it. I love it, the fact that sometimes the answer may not be yes, the answer may not be no. So you are somewhere in between. This is what I do for a living. How do I get into my experience with computer science was so amazing. I came to this country like Gurdeep, an immigrant. I was so full of energy to become a doctor, because in Haiti you can either be doctor or engineer. You have two options. You pick one option. So when I came here, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor, not knowing the bill, the amount of money that my parents need to have. And when I came, the reality hit me. I was like, oh my God, I cannot be a doctor. 8 years paying all this money. I will work for the rest of my life. Then I step back. I say, okay, what is my next step? And I say to myself, okay, I'm good in math. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with that. But I never saw a computer in my life. I was like, okay, I think computer science is the thing for me, because I'm very independent. I don't like to take orders. I don't like people dictating me what I need to do. Once you give me, Nancy, do this, I take it and I bring the solution to you. I say, okay, then I can be good in computer science, whatever the computer science is. And that's how I got in. And when my first math and computer science class, and I came and I spoke mostly French. But you always find somebody in your path to help you. The late Professor Galit came up to me. I studied at Essex County College. He came up to me. He said, Nancy, you seem to be intelligent, but you speak French. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Write everything in French. I'm gonna read it and translate. That's fine. And he was my angel. And as soon as I do something, he said, Nancy, explain it in French. Don't worry about it. And that's how I started my first 2 semesters. Computer science, never see a computer, but and he was like Professor Garrett was saying, Nancy, you are so smart. You have to go to NGIT. I said, okay. But other people are saying NGIT is so hard. Professor Garrett is right in, like telling me, Nancy, you can do it. Nancy, you can do it. And I listened to him, because sometimes you just need to have a cheerleader, a supporter, and listen to that person. Because sometimes you have potentials that you don't even know. So I transferred to NGIT. My first couple of classes at NGIT, I remember I had a professor who came up to me and said, Nancy, you are very smart in the class, but you don't want to consider nursing? I was like, okay, I'm here for computer science. I want to do computer science. This is the discouragement. And to this point, I understand. Now I say, okay, I see why my professor was telling me to go into nursing. Maybe because I was sometimes the only female, sometimes the only Black female. I could count on my fingers how many, 5 fingers. I don't think I would find 5 fingers. I turned around all male. Maybe that was the reason, but I was so focused. I say, I want to see why exactly I cannot be a computer scientist. And this is how I do it. I made it. I finished the BS. By the time I finished the BS, I was, NGIT has something called bridge program. So I got into the bridge program while I was doing my BS, I was taking my master's program. So I did the BSMS and I graduated. Again, I find very good mentors. I remember there was a professor in computer science. He was telling me, he said, Nancy, once you get out there, if you spend 3 years working at a job, you are an expert at that job. You need to move on. And those words stay with me. After 3-4 years, definitely things become repetitive. You need to go to the next chapter. And there is so much to embrace. So this is my journey. So I listen to those mentors I have. Nancy, after 3-4 years, learn something new. Open up, listen to others. So those are my angels, I would say. They are all males, 2 males. They happen to be white males, but they are my angels. And this is how I am in the computer science field.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy. That is awesome. And last but not the least, Niloufer.
Thank you, Gurdeep, and extremely amazing journey of all these speakers before me. Really impressive. I started off like my background in India was commerce. Commerce means your business degree. And I was really interested in computers. And people would not like encourage me down that path because it was like, oh, you're a woman, and the same kind of this thing. But I had made up my mind that this is what I want to do. And somebody in my class, he had his father was a stockbroker, and we said, okay, they are like going to computerize their business. I'm like, I have to be in. So I took up my first job as an internship, kind of. This is what I called it. Was a hands-on thing. I said, yeah, we can do it. I definitely can put this together. I learned on the job. I didn't care if nobody was paying me any money because I was learning. Can you imagine? Like I could like touch and feel equipment. I could do things. Who cares about money, right? Money would, I knew like, okay, if I can do this successfully, I'll definitely, I didn't know everything like 6 months ahead, but I said, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And successfully like networked all these computers together, make them talk to each other, prepared them to receive data. We had what was known at that time was satellites. Everybody had those for communications, etc. And that provided me with hands-on experience. I then completed my certification, CCNA, CCNP. So there were first was one CCNA was one. Then there were like 3-4 of the CCNP, like routing, switching, etc. So the Cisco based. Then I said, okay, so what about security of all these things? And at that time, believe it or not, people were not much this thing concerned. Access control and writing security policies were about the only jobs in security. And luckily for me, by that time, I heard that IC Squared was going to have their first in like all the exams, CISSP exams, and CISSP was their only flagship certification. They were going to administer that in India for the first time. And I'm like, oh, great, I need to get it. It cost 500 rupees, dollars, which was like 25,000 rupees back in the day. Very expensive. So making somebody like your business to pay for it and for them to have like faith that you will pass this thing, etc., was like quite a this thing in negotiation skills and like convincing everybody like to sign off and pay that money. 65 people like took that thing in person, probably 6-7 hour exam. It was tough. It was tough. And then what happened was that there was some anthrax attack. So all the mail was stopped. So we couldn't get our results for the next And that was like every day that passed, it was scary. But then finally I got my result and I had like cleared it in the first shot. That provided me with a lot of encouragement that yes, and now by that time people started becoming more cyber secure, cyber aware, and people started, oh, if you want to bid for these contracts, you need to have so many CISSPs on your team, etc., which provided me with the boost that I needed. I have then after that I moved to the US. I've worked in 3 different continents for work related stuff, learned from everybody. One thing which keeps me going is that what is going to happen 3 years from today, you cannot predict. And I mean, and you have to keep your eyes open. Otherwise, you will be not be able to compete with the world. So you have to learn it, like, okay, so what is out there? What are people doing? What are the new technologies? How are you going to secure them? And that basically, Gurdeep and I, Gurdeep was also the co-founder of IC Squared. And this was an effort to scratch our personal itch, because what we started to notice was all the different cybersecurity meetups and all these tech meetups were in New York City. Now, both of us were parents, young kids. We could not, like, after work, make that trek to New York City and come back and, so we said, oh, why don't we start something like within like New Jersey area where people can meet in person? And that's how Gurdeep and I, like Gurdeep was the leader at that point. She was the first president of our chapter. And what that helped us was people like Nancy and different. So it brought all the women, it brought all the people in person in New Jersey. We used to have different people come and talk and represent different communities. That was very helpful, because building relations, understanding what is going on in different industries, how people deal with it. In my current role, like Nancy said, I started off as an IT audit specialist. I moved over to fraud. After fraud, I am in IT security, and now risk management. Basic, if you see anybody's journey, our probably, like, I don't know about other people, but most of this thing is what makes us successful is that we are problem solvers. If you can solve whatever problem is put before you, you are going to be successful. And if you cannot do that, you cannot work with, like, say, maybe you can't work with cross-functional teams, bring them together, mission over org, right? Show them, like, oh, why they need to participate, why they need to contribute. You probably will not be very successful. So those are the things that very transferable. Doesn't matter what next I'll be doing, but I know one thing, that all these are transferable skills that I can put to work for anywhere, any place that I go to. Coming back to like why we started the step up skill, and what it does is that we have seen that there is a lot of roles which are open in cyber, and there are a lot of IT roles which are being like transformed, different thing with the cloud. So how can we get those people who have got IT backgrounds quickly transition into a cyber role, because they have people knowledge, they've got process knowledge, they've worked in the IT field. And now how do we like train them, or how do we like bring them on into a cyber role? So that is what step up skill is endeavor we are trying to do. And that's where Gurdeep and I are like focusing our attention. And thank you, Susan, for creating this great conference for everybody. I really like to be part of it, and I'm successful today because of my people who help me. Now they don't need anything, so I have to pay it forward to everybody else who comes after me. Another thing is, like, when people see somebody like Erin or Gurdeep or Nancy, if they can see her, they can be her. So thank you for opening the door and like making sure that other people can follow after you. And by sharing your experiences, you're telling people you don't need to be the brightest person in the room, but you should be a person who thinks that they can do it, and they will be able to do it.
Thank you so much, Niloufer. Yep, and yes, you and I have been partner in crime for a long time, 10 years, with the sole objective of promoting, cyber among our communities, and then paying it forward. So thank you for that. And moving on, I would like to ask another question to every one of you. Although we have answered that in we have touched that in bits and pieces, but let's still see if we can provide any additional insights to all the young women out there, or even the minority students out there, who may be considering cyber as a viable option for a career. What advice? What additional advice would you like to give? So if I start with myself, the advice that I would give is be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. If you want to go into the technical track, work your A off for that. It really, nothing else will matter. If you can demonstrate that, yes, you have a hold of it, you can learn whatever comes, you can figure out whatever comes on your way, that's the attitude. So it's the attitude that will be the most important and not the aptitude by itself. So keep that. And then too, from the women perspective, it's always kind of close to my heart, and I also sometimes mention that as well. You don't have to give up on anything. I sometimes I joke that, yeah, I'm very passionate about cyber, but I love shoes. I work for shoes. So you can have a wholesome life, and you can actually maintain that balance, and you can make sure that people understand that you are bringing your full authentic self to work or wherever you are. So keep, I would just, if nothing else, that's the only tip that I would give, that it's not easy. Sometimes being a woman or in the diversity, there are challenges, but then, hey, what we do when we see a challenge, we address it heads on. So that's what I would strongly urge all of you to do. So maybe, whoever wants to go first, or I can pick.
I can go next. It's I think a lot of our advice will be similar. I think it's going to be really hard for us to come up with something completely new and different, because I think it's so important that you mentioned authenticity. And my advice that I was ready to give was use your gifts and talents, whatever those are, wherever those are. I had gifts and talents. These amazing women have gifts and talents, and those gifts and talents took us on all kinds of journeys, right? And then the second piece of advice is have determination and grit. I was rejected for more jobs than I ever had. And I thought maybe I was going to work for a big law firm, and I thought that that was the answer to everything, having come from very humble beginnings, and getting a huge paycheck was incredibly alluring. But I found out that's not really where my passion was. And for, a good part of my career, it was government service, where I didn't get super wealthy, but every day was meaningful. That it was the right mission space for me. And that made it all worthwhile. And then, going into Mandiant, it's really about the mission for me. It's the same mission. It's a very similar culture. So those are the things that drove me, but it didn't come easy. There were many times when I had to overcome adversity or had to examine myself and say, you know what, I'm not quite ready for something. I need to get myself prepared and ready, or I need to have more determination and grit, or maybe I saw myself as being ready for a position, and I was, but I had to get the advocacy around me. I had to get the sponsorship around me in order to get there. Because I don't know anybody, and this is sort of my third point, my third piece of advice, don't think you can do it alone. And I wouldn't recommend that you do it alone. Right? There are so many people out there that are willing to help. Right now, you have a panel of people who are sharing their experiences. Take advantage of every opportunity that you're able to take advantage of so that you can learn and grow from others, because we're here to pay it forward, just like you heard. And that's important. And I think there comes a point in your life where giving back is really the most rewarding part. So when you go and talk to people, know that they're happy to give back to you, that's something that they want to do, to give to you, and accept that, be open to that. But equally important, you have to give to others, right? Don't go into the workforce thinking it's all about you, right? You have to go into the workforce showing up ready to contribute, ready to roll up your sleeves, ready to work, ready to give, ready to show up and really work hard, and then demonstrate that whoever has invested in you made a good investment. and then invest in somebody else and keep that investment going.
Thank you, Erin. Yeah, that's extremely important. This is like the full circle of life, for lack of any other word. And I think it is definitely extremely important for all of us and all the young women out there. You don't have to reach out to any one of us or any other accomplished women in cyber or men in cyber. Just when you need a job or a change in job, reach out. If you need any piece of advice that is related to the cyber profession, I'm sure that majority of the people would be very happy to provide you either a good answer or direct you towards someone who can provide you the answer or additional piece of guidance and advice.
Yeah, and let me add to that. Here's how, because a lot of people say reach out, but I don't know that everybody knows how. What I would do is reach out and say, I'm considering an opportunity, or I'm considering a career in something you do, or something about your background interests me. Would you visit with me? Would you talk to me? Would you teach me some things? I'd like to learn. That's how.
Yep. And Niloufer, you mentioned about the meetups and all. So that's another, you should be joining. And Niloufer, maybe you can talk more about those, if I may say, platforms as well that make it easier for people to connect.
Sure, thanks. So Nancy, Gurdeep, both of us have been members of IC Squared since IC Squared started in 2012, and we've really found it useful because we have connected with each other, and I have helped a lot of people with their certifications. But if you are considering a career in cybersecurity, great, because one thing is there, you will never get bored. There is so much change that you can never be bored if you get, and another thing, when you reach out to somebody like Erin is extremely busy. So if you reach out, can you mentor me? You know what, if you keep on doing it, you probably get ghosted, because here you are asking her like, oh, what is great for me to do? So do your homework, decide on what you want to do, and I mean, obviously we don't have time to go into that. We'll probably do a LinkedIn live or something. I'll probably invite Erin, Nancy, and everybody to continue our conversation. But how do you want to reach out to people? So first, look at your strengths. What do you want to do? What do you like to do? I mean, because there are 8 domains in cybersecurity. Which one do you like? Cybersecurity, if you do a search on Google, and that image that comes up, that person with a lot of monitors and wearing a hoodie, that's just one part. So there are 7 others. So decide on where you want to go, and then be focused. If I were to go to Google and I'm like, oh, where should I go? And Google is going to give me crappy answers, right? So same thing happens in life. When you ask more focused, better questions, you'll get better answers. You get better support from people, because now they see, oh, this person is now reaching out to me and saying, how do I do X? And this is the obstacle. And now, what to help them with. So Erin probably gets 100 people asking her oh, can you be my mentor? Gurdeep must be probably getting that, Nancy also. But the point is that the more focused you are on what you want to do, then you become more focused, then people will be more focused in helping you with where you want to go. Last thing I want to tell you is the best reason for becoming a cybersecurity professional as a woman is that whenever you go to any tech conference, there will be no waiting lines in the bathrooms. and you can ask everybody their experience. I have taken pictures, for men, they are like, oh, this long, huge, this thing. And then for us, in and out, so.
That's interesting observation. Yeah, there are always lines for the women's restroom. So I hope it becomes longer. So let me put it this way. I hope that eventually we can help that many women that the line becomes the same, as what I would see outside the Gucci or wherever, what your favorite store might be. Yes, and Nancy, what would you like to provide that piece of advice?
Like Niloufer just mentioned, I have to say one thing today. I know Niloufer kept saying that I bought the first ticket. The reason that I stay so connected with Niloufer and Gerdeep, whenever they ask something, I will do it right away, because I found a safe place. I see women, I see immigrants, I see me in them. And they nurture, like when after a day spending time, like sometimes I doubt myself. Even when you know something, I doubt myself. But when I go to those meetings and I see those two women in action, I feel energized. I feel, okay, I'm ready to go back. So use this type of support. Like Niloufer mentioned, you can have several mentors. You may have a mentor where you feel depressed and you want somebody to say, come on, you should start your day. You have a different mentor for you to be prepared and discuss serious things. Use mentorship. You need the support. Use it. Use it. Get several mentors. Number two, don't take no for an answer. If that's what you want, somebody say no, find another way. Come back with different rationale why you want it. Because if you need something, you know the reason why you want it. Don't take no. Don't just put your shoulders down and turn no, because it is a race. They don't want us to be at the table. So what you want it, so what do? There are ways for you to be at the table. So don't take no for an answer. Number three, how would I say? Be persistent. Be persistent, persistent, persistent. At my job, if I'm not persistent, sometimes they're like, I told you that. How many times? I just got an email. As I mentioned to you yesterday, I just turn around because I know at the end I have to be persistent for my job to get done. So be persistent and use your tools. Use the professors. With so many jobs, it's a well-paid job. When you look at it, it's not, you don't have to be a computer scientist. You don't have to be you don't have to be a mathematician. You don't have to be smart, nerd. It's okay to be nerd. Why not? I can be a nerd today and be happy tomorrow. I can afford my own things. I can afford Louis Vuitton, all those type of experiences. Be a nerd. It's okay. Be a nerd. I remember I used to have one single coat, and the kids at NGIT used to say, oh my God, here's Nancy coming with the purple coat. I say, okay, that's okay. It's my purple coat. Now I can buy so many coats. It's okay. Be a nerd. Be yourself and stay focused. That's my advice.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy. It has been such a pleasure to actually hear from all of you. And I will hand it back to Susan for questions from the audience.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. Lisette asks, what keeps you interested in cybersecurity, and where do you look for inspiration?
I can just start with a very quick answer. There is never, ever a dull moment in cyber. There's always something going on. And inspiration, and you know what, all the new things, yes, we read a lot, study a lot, attend these kind of conferences and meetups, and always stay in touch with the professional community.
Okay. Anybody else would like to answer, please?
It's you. I think I can take a shot at that. If you love to solve problem, you will never get bored because there is always a problem. It doesn't have to be a mathematical problem. No, if you love to think, you love to solve problem, it is the place to be. There is always something new. Always something new.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think that we had talked about what is it about our educational or academic background that contributes to our success. And I think it's that critical thinking, problem solving capabilities, communication skills, in addition to all those hard skills that you may be learning if that's your track. But I think the problem solving is exactly right. There's never a day there's not a problem. I'm motivated to protect people. I'm motivated to care about people. I'm motivated to take care of people and keep, our nation, our assets, and the things that are important to the world economy. Those things just motivate me. So cybersecurity was a very good way for me to meet that need. But there are many ways. So see what you're passionate about and see where you want to contribute, but there is never a dull moment. And the inspiration is true. I think it comes from two places. One is the mission itself, and two, it's the people that you get to network with, exactly as you've heard today. When I need to be lifted up, and there are days I do, it's this incredible group of people that you turn to who lift you up and just help you remember that you are a great contributor.
Great. We do have another question. What qualities do you look for in candidates when you hire?
I think I can. One thing I don't like when I interview somebody, if you don't know, don't be afraid to say I don't know. Sometimes you have a candidate and you ask a question, you know the person is not aware or doesn't know, but they give some type of answer like that is so unrelated to me. I think I would rather say I don't know. Don't say I don't know instead of giving, like, candidates sometimes they think that if they say something, you may lose your chance. Whereas if you say I don't know, the person can give you a chance. Okay, you cannot know everything because we have 8 domains. It's a huge world. Cybersecurity is huge, so it's okay to say I don't know. That's my thing.
So Nancy, let me chime in. For my current position, I mean, obviously, like 10 years back, when I was interviewing for that, the person who was interviewing me said, "Oh, you've written something about microwave on your resume." No, I have not written. So they were testing if, I would just like go along, like you said, and just say something about it. So I said, no. So she said, okay, but what do you know about? Because it's a telecommunication company, right? So they said, well, what do you know about microwave? And I said, the only thing I know about microwave is that you put the popcorn in, and after a few minutes, you take the popcorn out. And she was like, oh God. And I got the job because I knew what else was going on. So, I mean, don't worry about it. Like, if you don't know something, you don't know something,
That's it.
When I think about the job market, right, I think about skills and I think about qualities. And skills are things like, do you have the technical skills? Do you have the communication skills? Do you have what's needed to perform the basic functions of the job? One of the things I think that we've heard time and time again, and studies show, women think they have to have 100% of the skills to apply, and men think they have to have about 50% of the skills, and we'll learn the rest. So I do think you have to have a certain number of the skills that will help you be successful, but don't feel like if you're missing 1 or 2 or 3 that it's the end of the world. Apply. If it generally looks like the kind of job that you believe you can do and you have the basic skills to either do it or learn it, apply. Because let the interviewer, let the organization decide if you have enough, if enough is enough. But if you think that you're far enough along, then apply and find out. Don't worry about having 100%. Then it gets into the qualities. Are you the kind of person that they want to hire? Sometimes we need people who work really well alone and are self-directed and self-motivated to get a job done as an individual contributor. Other job roles, you need to be very collaborative and you need to be able to problem solve together, not just on your own. So it depends on what type of job it is, where your greatest qualities may come into play. But regardless of that, I still think it's important today that you have to value others. Even if it's an individual role, demonstrating that you value others and will work in a larger environment and understand that you're one part of something bigger than yourself, I think is critical today, because you have to be able to fit in and take what you're doing and fit it into something else. So be collaborative and value others would be the qualities I would add.
Agree.
Yep, I agree. I agree with all of that. And the thing that again I would like in a candidate is who is coming in, and it's okay, as Aaron you mentioned, maybe you knew 50% of the stuff. So try to highlight that, hey, I do not know this, but here is where I bring value, because maybe I am not a network, engineer. Of course, I don't know about all the protocols and all, if you ask me, but here is how I can assist, because I know all the programming, I can help with the scripting, I can make the job of that administrator easier by automating some of that stuff. So it's always going to be, complement the talents and the skills that may already be in the organization. So yes, feel free to say no, I don't know, but add to that what value you bring to the
Agreed.
table.
Well said, Gurdeep.
And sometimes it's a value. Sometimes you have something that you don't even know they're really looking for, and they don't even know sometimes that they're looking for it until you actually get in that conversation, which is another reason I think you need to put yourself out there. I know when I was looking to join Mandiant, I was very concerned. I thought, oh my gosh, you have all these technical people. I'm not highly technical. But I did have a number of things, not only working with the private sector and government, which was really valuable, but also I had a lot of experience with organizational change. And they were a company that was undergoing a lot of organizational change. So that's a skill set that I didn't necessarily think would come into play, that ended up being a significant part of the role that I was going to come into, and it's something that they valued.
Great. I want to thank you all for your wonderful comments, your insights, your advice. And I'd like to wrap up by telling the audience that we do have the Whova app, and our speakers are listed in there. That Whova app will stay up and active for 3 months. So if you'd like to contact any of our speakers, you certainly have that opportunity. But I just want to say I've been in awe. I feel like I'm with the superhero women of cybersecurity this morning, and I know that all of our students have benefited. They'll be able to watch the recording of this too. I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your incredible caring, coming here today and sharing your wonderful experience. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.